Hello everyone, I'm Yograni, Assistant Professor, Department of English, KCS Kasinadar College of Arts and Science, Chennai. This video is about the poem Journey to the Interior by Margaret Atwood. About the poet, Margaret Atwood is a Canadian poet, novelist, literary critic, essayist, teacher, environmental activist. She was born in 1939 in Canada. Her famous works are Surfacing, The Handmaid's Tale, The Blind Assassin, The Testaments. She has received numerous awards including Booker Prize, Franz Kafka Prize, the latest being Stylist Icon Award in 2020. The poem Journey to the Interior can be considered as a transcendental poem as it relates to spirituality. It is a monologue. It is also an introspective poem as it examines one's own mental and emotional processes. About the title Journey to the Interior, the word interior refers to the psyche of the poetess. The poem is about the journey from the exterior world to the inner depth of the human mind. The first stanza of the poem. There are similarities, I notice, that the hills, which the eyes make flat as a wall, welded together, open as I move, to let me through, become endless as prairies, that the trees grow spindly, have their roots often in swamps, that this is a poor country, that a cliff is not known as rough except by hand and is therefore inaccessible. Mostly, that travel is not the easy going. There are similarities, I notice, that the hills, which the eyes make flat as a wall, welded together, open as I move. Margaret Atwood draws the similarities that she witnessed around her. She sees the hills, but it appears to be like a wall which is flat. She tells about the deception of appearance. It is just a mirage that the hills were all welded together. Open as I move, to let me through, become endless as prairies. Now, as she moves closer to the hills, they open up and give way for her to walk through. She continues walking, but it is endless as a prairie, which is a large open area of grassland. Trees grow spindly, have their roots often in swamps, that this is a poor country. She believes that the trees that grow very tall and thin may have their roots often in the swamp, which is marshy. She suggests that it may not be fertile as it appears to be. It turns out to be a barren swamp with tall trees. A cliff is not known as rough except by hand and is therefore inaccessible. Mostly, that travel is not the easy going. A cliff is a steep rock face, especially at the edge of the sea, as you see in the picture. It is not known to the traveler unless by experience. Most of the time, the travel is not easy. It becomes inaccessible, that is, difficult to reach. In the first stanza, we have now learnt the meaning of the poem as it appears to be, but it has far more deep meaning in it. It tells about the poetess' journey into her psyche, similar to the journey into the vast, new, unknown land, particularly the Canadian environment and natural landscape. She moves into her own mind. She compares it to walking towards a mountain. She understands that the journey into one's own mind is not easily comprehensible and is therefore confusing. It is compared to the tedious journey among deceptive hills, prairies, swamps, and cliffs. The internal journey is thus contrasted with the external environment. The second stanza continues from the last line of the first stanza. Travel is not the easy going from point to point, a dotted line on a map, location plotted on a square surface, but that I move surrounded by a tangle of branches, a net of air, and alternate light and dark at all times, that there are no destinations apart from this. From point to point, a dotted line on a map, location plotted on a square surface. The narrator says that the travel is not easy to move just by following dotted places on the map. As she journeys, the place is all messed up. But that I move surrounded by a tangle of branches, a net of air. The poet feels that she is wrapped all around by tangled, twisted branches. Alternate light and dark at all times. The path is not clear as it is surrounded by darkness and also dense leaves. The light at times refers here to day and night. That there are no destinations apart from this. These lines symbolize the emotional instability. She could find no way to her destination. Her search for self-discovery becomes a challenging task. Third stanza. There are differences, of course. The lack of reliable charts. More important, the distraction of small details. Your shoe among the brambles under the chair where it shouldn't be, lucent white mushrooms, and a paring knife on the kitchen table, a sentence crossing my path, sodden as a fallen log. I'm sure I passed yesterday. There are differences, of course. The lack of reliable charts. More important, the distraction of small details. The poetess now brings in the differences during the journey of self-discovery. Firstly, there is no trustworthy route to reach the destination. Secondly, she lists the distraction while she tries to discover her inner self. Your shoe among the brambles under the chair where it shouldn't be, lucent white mushrooms and a paring knife on the kitchen table. The thought about the shoes under the chair or among the brambles where it should not be may be distracting. Even the white mushrooms that have to be sliced in the kitchen may hinder one's inner journey. A sentence crossing my path, sodden as a fallen log. I'm sure I passed yesterday. The journey to the inner self becomes difficult because of the distractions of the trivial things in routine domestic life. Even a sentence is a distraction that crosses her way like a heavy log of wood that is fallen. She is sure that she had experienced it earlier the previous day. Stanza 4 and 5 are very short. Have I been walking in circles again? But mostly the danger. Many have been here, but only some have returned safely. Have I been walking in circles again? She is worried that she is doing the same things again and again in circles. But mostly the danger. Many have been here, but only some have returned safely. In the initiative of self-discovery, many have lost in themselves, which result in depression, madness, and even self-harm. Life becomes meaningless and directionless at times that only few people return safe and sane. Stanza 6. A compass is useless. Also, trying to take directions from the movements of the sun, which are erratic, and words here are as pointless as calling in a vacant wilderness. A compass is useless. The poetess poses the dangers during the journey to interior. Compass that is served as a navigational tool becomes useless in the dense landscape during the journey. Also, trying to take directions from the movements of the sun, which are erratic. Even the traditional method to find the direction from the movement of the sun is erratic, that is, unpredictable. And words here are as pointless as calling in a vacant wilderness. Communication is not possible during the journey as the words become meaningless, calling out among the wilderness. In the concluding stanza, the poetess says, "Whatever I do, I must keep my head. I know it is easier for me to lose my way forever here than in other landscapes." The poetess is specific that whatever she does, she needs to be clear in her thinking. It is easy to lose oneself during the inner journey, but they need to return safely without harming themselves or falling into depression. Margaret Atwood ends the poem with the acceptance that it would be easier to be in her present self and place rather than in any other landscape. It is important not to give up one's mind. The poem is also a spiritual journey of inner self, the way to God, which only few people succeed. Here are few references for further study. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your time. Thank you.